So you have an older car with a sunroof, but you're smart and you know that that sunroof hasn't been moved in a really long time, and the odds of that sunroof actually closing and resealing are not that great. So you make a point to never, ever touch that sunroof and you just leave it there, which is a plan that works flawlessly right up until someone other than you decides to open it, and of course, now it won't close. So, what do we do from here? But, you know, at least this happened at a pretty convenient time. I mean, it's 17 degrees Fahrenheit outside on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, it could be worse, I guess.
In the case with this Suburban, to get this whole plastic piece off, I had to remove 2 screws up by the top of the windshield, and then there were these metal clips that held the whole thing up to the roof, and I just pulled down on it until those metal clips finally released. And what I'm doing here is I'm using this red wire that I stripped the ends off of, and it's a solid core wire, so there's only one strand, so I can't poke extra strands into the other pins of the plug. And I poked one end into the green pin, which I know is power coming into the switch, and then I was touching the other end to the brown and the orange in order to make the sunroof actuate open and closed. So this was bypassing the switch, but doing the same thing that the switch should have been doing.
Once you get the whole thing apart that has your switch in it, your best bet is probably going to be to find a wiring diagram of what this plug does, because best case scenario, the switch is what's actually the problem and not any of the other components. Like in this case, there's 2 other relays and a sunroof control module involved in this car, and this car's decently old at a 2002, so I can imagine newer ones only get more complicated. So I found a wiring diagram which actually turned out to be wrong for this car. The open and close on the diagram is actually backwards to what this one is. So if I come over here, if I can do this with one hand without shorting out something. Sunroof closes. And I touch the orange, sunroof opens. So mechanically and the rest of the electrics are all good with this setup. The problem is the switch. So I'm gonna pull the switch out of here, see if it's something I can take apart and clean, and then we'll see where we're at. But at least worst case scenario, using this jumper wire here, because I know the green is my power coming in and I know the brown is close, the signal to close the sunroof. I know that I can jump that and at least close it and then leave it unplugged so that it doesn't happen again. But I'm just going to check out the switch real quick first. Well, I definitely didn't fix anything, but the switch was definitely the problem. Just the act of me taking it apart and messing with it seems to have fixed it. What I'm going to do though, just because, I mean, it is working now and I could get another switch for it, but having this sunroof working really isn't a big deal to me. I mean, it's kind of cool that it does, but at the same time, that just presents a problem that I really don't want to deal with. So while I had it open, I went and checked. There's a drain at either front corner. Both of those looked like they were unobstructed, but if you'd want to check those while you have it open, just make sure that they're clear so that any water that leaks through has somewhere to drain. And then I'm just going to unplug this guy and we'll just let this thing lay dormant for the time being, because I don't have a way of really storing this thing inside, and the last thing I want is for this guy to be stuck open. So hopefully that was somewhat helpful. I mean, it's hard to do one of these that's universal in any way whatsoever, but it was basically figure out how to get to the switch and try bypassing the switch with a jumper wire and see if you can get the thing to move. And then if your switch is fine, then it's going to be one of those other, I don't know, relay, control module, something like that. And best of luck to you with that. Fortunately for me, that was not the case here. It's super easy. Best case scenario. So we're just going to go ahead and unplug it and not mess with it again.